So, we finally have another major update in the Nolan Wells case. And while this isn't an arrest, it might be one of the most important legal developments we've seen so far. Because Nolan's mother has officially begun the legal process by opening his estate through the court. At first glance, that might not sound like a big deal, but legally, it could change everything. Now, before we get into this, let's be clear about what this filing actually means. Opening an estate after someone dies is a normal legal process. It gives someone, usually a family member, the authority to handle legal matters on behalf of that person's estate. That can include investigating potential civil claims, if they believe someone else's actions contributed to the person's death.
Nolan Wells' mother, on July 20th, the day that she laid her son to rest, filed her first documents in court. Now, she filed a petition to open estate, appoint administrative, grant letters and administrations, and for other relief. Now, she was granted the sole and living heir of Nolan Wells. Now, many of you all may be thinking, what is the purpose of her filing these court documents? I'm glad you asked. It would allow her to file a lawsuit for damages on behalf of her son's estate should others be found responsible for his death. Now, this is leading up to the preliminary autopsy findings that will be dropped on tomorrow at the 117th NAACP convention. Now, the petition, which was filed the day that she laid her son to rest on July 20th, acknowledged that Christian Wells Wansley as administrator of her son's estate and to issue the letter of administration. Now, this handwritten case number indicates the cause was assigned to the court of Judge D. Neil Harris. Now, according to the filing, Nolan Wells died without a will, and he was never married, never had any children, and he left his mother as his sole heir under Mississippi law. Now, the petition goes on to state that is solely of claims for damages resulting from circumstances surrounding his death. The filing also asked the court to waive the normal requirements for inventory, appraisal, accounting, and bond, representing that any proceeds ultimately received by the estate after payment of fees and expenses will be deposited in a federally insured financial institution until further order of the court. All they're doing is getting their ducks in a row because they are getting ready to pursue a wrongful death suit. And in order for that to take place, this document has to be filed.
At this stage, there has been no lawsuit filed, and the court documents don't identify who, if anyone, could eventually be sued. But here's why people are paying attention. Up until now, the public conversation has focused almost entirely on the criminal investigation. Everyone has been asking one question: will someone be charged? This court filing introduces another possibility. What if the next major developments don't come from criminal court first? What if they come through the civil court system? One thing we've learned from other high-profile cases is that civil cases often uncover information the public hasn't seen before. Depositions, phone records, witness testimony, documents, communications. Sometimes families pursue civil action not only because they're seeking compensation, but because civil cases can provide another avenue for discovering facts that weren't previously public.
There's an update on the Nolan Wells case. Attorney Ben Crump announced that tomorrow, July 22nd, he will be going over the preliminary autopsy results at the NAACP National Convention. There is a reward that has been upped to $125,000 for anyone to come forward with information on the disappearance of Nolan Wells. And his mother, Christine, has filed in court to be over Nolan's estate, which means she can then sue anyone for wrongdoing in his disappearance. Yesterday, Nancy Grace started talking about the case on her show, and TMC did an interview with the person who did search and rescue who found Nolan Wells face down on the shoreline. He said, knew it was Nolan by the color of his shorts. Usually you see bloating, but he wasn't in the water that long. Usually they pop up in 4 days, but given the temperature of the water and his body mass, they were expecting he could possibly pop up within 2 days. But given the timeline, that would be under the 48 hours of 2 days for him to have popped up. Tell me what you think.
The biggest question now becomes, what happens first? Will investigators announce criminal charges? Or will we see civil litigation begin before any criminal case is resolved? Nobody knows that answer yet. But what we do know is this: the legal process has entered a new phase. This isn't just a family waiting for answers anymore. It's a family taking legal steps to protect its options while the investigation continues. And if you've followed cases like this before, you know that sometimes the biggest revelations don't happen at a press conference. They happen inside court filings. So this is definitely an update worth watching. What do you think this means going forward? Do you think this is simply standard legal procedure? Or do you think we're about to enter a completely different chapter in the Nolan Wells case? Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, if there are more developments, we'll continue following this story.
Okay, so now there's this. This is a Nolan Wells update, by the way. There's a new video that just surfaced from the day that Nolan Wells disappeared. All right, check this out. TMZ got this video, and it is timestamp 2:23 that afternoon. I'll tell you why that matters. You can see in a second. You can see a young black man. He's on the back of that boat, leaning down, maybe to cooler to get a drink or something. He's wearing swim trunks that appear to match what Nolan was wearing on that day on the boat, if you compare it to the picture of him with all the guys, the white guys in the boat. And this was taken about 2 hours, I said I would explain to you, about 2 hours before his friends left the island without him. They left around 4:30. This was at 2:23 or so in the afternoon, according to the metadata. Now, the sheriff's office now has this video, according to TMZ. The investigators have it. I don't know what that means yet, if they have spoken to people or what they're doing with it. But I do know this, that every new piece of evidence deserves to be looked at and taken seriously. Every question deserves an answer, and we're going to keep following the facts wherever they lead, because the journalism doesn't stop after the funeral is over, and it doesn't stop when the cameras leave.